Did HBO crack the code and find Satoshi? Or was this just a money grab, just an attempt to gain subscribers? Just an attempt to get people to talk about HBO. Long story short, we haven't found out who Satoshi is yet, and HBO isn't going to change anybody's minds. And after this documentary named who they think Satoshi is, who they thought Satoshi was, went on to Twitter and said, "I am not Satoshi." And it's not just Peter Todd himself saying he's not Satoshi, but many others agree that this was a pretty lazy attempt at naming who is the Bitcoin creator. One user calls it the least compelling Satoshi Nakamoto identities I've ever seen. And this documentary recklessly claims that Todd is the creator without any real proof. This documentary is garbage and shameful. Now, maybe they did or didn't have a motivation behind it. Maybe they had money on the lines. Maybe they had money in some meme coins based around these different names. Or maybe they just simply wanted more subscribers, more attention. I personally think that there are much more likely people that could be Satoshi, and I talked about this yesterday. In the end, like most of you think, I do think this is simply a cash grab, an attempt to gain some more subs, some more attention, and this quote adds it up pretty well. Wild speculation, lacks understanding of the tech that rules it out, no smoking gun, and irresponsibly names someone as Satoshi who is alive today, says they aren't Satoshi, and does so without solid proof. You know, in the end, regardless of who they name as Satoshi, whether they are right or wrong, we will never collectively 100% agree. No matter who names Bitcoin's creator as Satoshi, no matter who thinks they cracked the code finally, we will never fully agree. And I think that is one great thing. And of course, we will see this in future cycles, someone going to attempt to crack the code again. But just remember times like this. We haven't found Satoshi yet. As time goes by, in my opinion, it becomes less and less and less likely. In the end, I think this will be a fun mystery that never really fully gets cracked. And even if it is cracked, there will never be 100% agreement. Now, Bitcoin has been pulling back, in my opinion, because of this documentary, because of this worry of, will they be successful? Will the masses learn who the real Satoshi is? This could be very worrisome for Bitcoin if we find out who created it, and especially if we find out that who created it is alive still. And because of all this recent worry, we are setting up a nice wedge, a falling wedge, which is typically a bullish pattern. And we did see one recently that I showed you guys, this falling wedge here. We were seeing the price tighten up before we went out of this channel and created a new uptrend. Keep an eye on this pattern, keep an eye on this descending resistance. In my opinion, if we break it, we are going to go on to attempt to take out more levels. First off, this 63,000. But right now, Bitcoin is essentially right in between its 50 MA and its 200 MA. One thing you'll notice is this 50 MA has been getting closer and closer to the 200 MA. In my opinion, we will see what we saw back in October of 2023, where we find the 200 MA as resistance, we finally break over it, back test it as support, and go on to rally, create our golden cross, and go on our next run. I do expect, and I'll go on record saying this, I do expect 100% that we are going to see a golden cross within about a month or so. What we're all waiting for, me, you, everybody, we're all waiting for a break of this descending resistance. Once we can finally break this descending resistance, I think after that point is when we will see this golden cross, and Bitcoin will go on its next run, breaking out of its previous all-time high of 74,000, a hair under it. We experienced this last year in October of 2023, a series of lower lows, lower highs, kind of a downtrend in general, and we did break out. Once we got that flip over the 200 MA, got that golden cross, we didn't look back. I mean, this was back when we were in the 20,000s. I don't think we're ever going to see this price again. If we do, you better be buying. I don't know what to say to that. Just buy. Look at back in 2020. We are at the same time. Look at October right here. We're basically like right here. All right, we were continuing to downtrend, continuing to find resistance. I mean, you could bring it up here. We just couldn't break out until we finally did, until we finally broke this resistance, broke the previous all-time high. There was a little bit of a lag there. We're probably going to experience this earlier than we did here because we already broke all-time high. But we're going to experience this, you know, sideways action until we finally break out, go into that Q4 rally, and we go parabolic. Keep in mind, in 2020, we didn't go parabolic until the middle of October. Literally the middle of October is when we broke out. Like the 15th, 16th, 17th is when we started running. There was a little bit of a stagnation. Bitcoin was higher in price in August. People back then in 2020, in October, were probably like, well, Bitcoin was higher in August. The cycle might not play out again. Now, before this becomes an extremely long video, I do have a couple more things I want to talk about. First off, I want to talk about this analyst that predicts $150,000 all-time high this cycle. And this veteran trader says that Bitcoin's following the perfect script that terminates with a potential $150,000 cycle high. I think that is a very possible scenario. People are calling for 200, 300, 400, 500. I think we need to have a little more realistic expectations. In my opinion, 500,000 is similar to last cycle's 100,000. We never got it. It'll take some time. Who knows in the end, but my expectation is we will see Bitcoin anywhere from 120 to 150,000 by the end of the cycle. Might be more, might be less, but in my opinion, the top is not in. And in my opinion, we aren't going to see like a 200, 300, 400,000. That's a little too much. But at the same time, who knows? Bitcoin does do crazy things once the supply gets really tight, and it's already there. Bob Lucas, I'll say it like that because I don't know, says it's entering an explosive period of a 4-year cycle. Bitcoin closes the second year of its 4-year cycle next month, entering the third and historically explosive year of the cycle, 2025. Bitcoin is currently accumulating in a descending broadening wedge. Some people call it a descending channel, some people call it a descending broadening wedge, but it's basically been in a downtrend since about March. He predicts that Bitcoin could soon enter a parabolic uptrend. An 8-month base has been built. Sentiment reset, rates are easing, the script is perfect. I couldn't agree more. We are approaching the best time in the cycle, the parabolic phase, the post-halving year run, and the Q4 rally. I don't see any reason we aren't going to get that. I'll be a little cautious if we are going parabolic up to now. We have been pulling back up to now. I would be cautious if Bitcoin has long passed all-time highs and never retested and went on to 100,000 and beyond. Then I would be worried. Then I would think maybe there's some huge front running going on. But if there's front running going on this cycle, this pullback, in my opinion, has all but mitigated it. Now, I do want to remind you guys that PPI and CPI are coming out. CPI is going to be tomorrow, October 10. Now, the forecast is a 2.3% read. Previous was a 2.5. If we get 2.3 or under, I do think that there will be higher odds for a 25 basis point cut and higher odds also, potential odds now, for a 50 basis point cut. Looking at the Fed Watch tool, all we have is leaving rates current, which is almost a 20% expectation, otherwise a 1 in 5 chance, or we're going to get a 25 basis point cut at about an 82% chance. CPI and PPI will likely change these scenarios. We might even see a 50 basis point cut on the table. But like I said yesterday, I do think we're going to get the 25 basis point cut. What we really don't want to see is CPI and PPI ticking up. That would be very worrisome. Now it's all about closely watching job data and inflation data. If inflation data drops, unemployment rises, we're probably looking at more cuts. If inflation rises, we're probably looking at keeping rates more where they're at and being slower and methodical about it. But in the end, this is the beginning of the rate cut cycle. We are looking at multiple rate cuts over the next few months, and this will be good for risk on assets, Bitcoin included. But thanks as always for watching, guys. What do you think about the rate cuts? What are we getting next? Do you think CPI and PPI are going to come in line? Or are the numbers going to come in lower, higher? We all know that they're likely manipulated, but regardless, what matters is what the market thinks, not what we think. But thanks as always for watching, guys. And when do you think Bitcoin will go on its parabolic run? Are we going to see a Q4 like we have every cycle, or is something going to be different this time? Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you next time.